gotta be real. Everything finds its own way to feel. Gotta feel something, gotta feel something. We're like a pair of turning wheels, going to somewhere but never get anywhere, chasing on big dreams, counting on big things. Run, desperado lover, run. You don't take the time to love someone. Right, desperado lover, right. As long as you run it right, you're a desperado. I wonder if you feel the same. Gotta know something, gotta get it in clean. And you wonder if I'm playing games. Gotta trust someone, but not just anyone. Everything finds its own way in. Rambling hearts don't add up to anything. Ain't much if you don't share some things. Gotta share something or you don't got nothing. Chasing on big dreams, counting on big things. Run, desperado lover, run. You don't take the time to love someone. Right, desperado lover, go on and ride. As long as you run it right, you're a desperado. Run it right, you're a desperado. Run it right, you're a desperado. Run, run, go on and ride. Run, desperado lover, run. You don't take the time to love someone. Right, desperado lover, go on and ride. You won't be the lucky one in time. As long as you run it right, you're a desperado. Run it right, you're a desperado. That one did it.
That's Desperado Lover. That is GM Blacktop. That is his third full-length album, and that is called off the album Still Real, and we released that on Valentine's Day of all days, and it's doing well. It's charting well. Great song written by GM Blacktop and co-produced or fully produced by Daryl Gray of Helix. So well done, GM. And that was some footage I put together from a couple of his other videos and some stuff that I had floating around here, and put it up there so we could play the track tonight. Well, we got a good show for you tonight. We got a digital marketing professional. His name is Michael Brandvold. He's got a huge resume that goes all the way back to his early beginnings as a digital marketing specialist, working with the band Kiss and so many other great acts. We're going to talk about that. His podcast, Three Sides of the Coin, which is a Kiss podcast. And then, of course, he's doing a whole bunch of work with, I think, a record label and doing some other stuff. We're going to talk about that as well tonight. Here is my guest co-host tonight, Michael Brandvold. Hey, Mike.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Good to have you here, brother.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be back.
It's so much fun to have you on here because you are you're just a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the world of digital. And, you started way back when this was all like HTML stuff.
Yeah, I started on the internet in 1995. Let's put it this way. I built and launched my first website in 1995, but I was playing around on AOL and the very primitive ways of getting on the internet a couple years before then.
Yeah, I remember like 1990, the internet was 2000, the internet was really just taken off. And I remember my first laptop computer was a Toshiba Satellite Pro. They were like the laptop of all laptops back then, and now they're like nothing.
Right.
What a change in the world of the internet. You've seen some tremendous growth in so many different areas of the digital world.
Yeah, I mean, 1995 is just a completely different world than what you've got today. Like we're all used to high-speed broadband, instantly connected wherever we go through our cell phones or cable connections. And, back in 1995, you were using your telephone line and a modem to dial in and connect to the internet, the high-pitched squeals and noisy connection. And, you couldn't use your telephone line when you were connected on the internet, or if, God forbid, you're connected to the internet and somebody picks up the phone in the other room, breaks the connection, and it was so slow.
You're thousands of miles from me, too.
It was, I mean, I look back at it now and I'm just shaking my head going, God, how did we do anything? I mean, to download a single JPEG photo could take hours.
Yeah.
You connect your computer to the internet, start the download, go to bed. Literally go to bed.
Yep.
And wake up in the morning and hope to God the connection didn't break, and oh my God, I downloaded a photo.
Yeah, and it all came in pixel by pixel by pixel.
Or you downloaded an MP3 file and it took all day. I mean, it was crazy how things were back then. Google didn't exist, Amazon didn't exist, Yahoo didn't exist, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, none of that existed back then. None of that existed.
Like there's a huge amount of growth that's occurred, like say maybe more in the last 20 years than anything else, really.
Yeah, I would say from 2005, 2007, 2010, things have just exponentially exploded.
Mm-hmm.
It just keeps getting everything, not just the internet, but our devices keep getting faster and smaller and more capable. I mean, again, back in 1995, we were saving stuff to floppy disks. Floppy disks. I mean, USB drives didn't exist. I mean, a, a, a gigabyte of storage was unheard of for the general consumer. And I'm trying to think, this is going all the way back to early to mid 90s. I was working at a home improvement company where I was managing their advertising network. And we bought some hard drives to store all of the ad layouts that were being created. God, I think we bought, could we have bought maybe between 3 or 4 drives close to a terabyte of storage, and it was like $11,000.
Yeah, it was terribly expensive.
$11,000 for that sort of storage back then, and backing it up to DAT tapes. You know, you might be familiar with DAT tapes for recording and using
That's
in
right.
music,
Yep.
but DAT tapes were used to back up data.
I got a 4 terabyte drive about that big in my new computer that we're using tonight.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, my iPad has half a terabyte of storage in it.
It's crazy.
You know, and I've got a 2 terabyte external solid state hard drive that I bought a few years ago for like $300.
Yeah, it's absolutely, mind-boggling what's gone on with the internet in the last 20 years, because it's exploded. And look at us. We're thousands of miles apart. I mean, I'm here in St. Thomas, Ontario, and you're down about 40 minutes north of San Francisco.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the video calls flat out weren't possible. Just were. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, because somebody will, oh, I was doing it on this thing. Blah, blah. Consumer video calls were not possible.
No.
You know, the first videos literally, like, it was a postage stamp size video that you would play if you had the connection, and it was just like, oh my God, I'm watching a video, and it was slow and buffery and blurry and the size of a postage stamp, and it was only 15 seconds long. You know, nowadays, earlier today I uploaded a 1.5 gigabyte podcast video to Spotify, and it took, I don't know, 2 minutes, a
Yeah,
minute.
you and I are like literally 1 millisecond of latency right now. That's it. 1 millisecond.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's crazy. I mean, I am using a wired internet connection rather than Wi-Fi,
Me too.
because whenever I try and do any of my video calls or podcast recording, I don't want to do it over Wi-Fi. Not, Wi-Fi is so fast these days, but if you've never compared your internet connection from Wi-Fi to wired, you'll be blown away. I mean, a wired connection is twice as fast easily as
Yep.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
I mean, so whenever I want the absolute best quality, I've got on my iPad right now a USB-C hub adapter and an Ethernet cable's plugged into that. And as soon as I plug it in, it automatically switches my connection from Wi-Fi to Ethernet. And now I'm a direct wired connection getting the full bandwidth you would be paying for from your internet company.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how things have improved, and how much the digital world has changed. For a guy like you, having to have originally, written the KISS website by HTML, and then now being able to use out of the box tools to do literally the same stuff, saves hours.
Oh, I mean, stuff you're doing today just physically wouldn't have been possible back in 1995. Just absolutely impossible to do this sort of stuff. Yeah, I was hand building a website with HTML, but at some point it gets too big and cumbersome and unmanageable that then you have to, I was working for KISS at the time. We hired some coders, some developers who wrote PHP programming, and they wrote, a website content management system in PHP that used databases, which is way beyond I understood what they were doing. I couldn't do it myself.
Yeah.
So, we could basically do exactly what you do with a WordPress download and install right now. Takes you 2 seconds to do that. It took us weeks and weeks and weeks of actual two programmers building this based on my requirements because it had never been done before. I was just
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, I want an ability to have a back-end admin that I can log into through a web browser. So if I'm on the road, I can post news and I can upload a photo from wherever I am. Okay, well, let's think about how do we do this? I mean, it just was never done.
Yeah, that audio for that track that I played tonight was right off the Wavemaster, and that uploaded to the video in like, I don't know, 30 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, not that people will even understand what it means, but modems that were used to connect to the internet 95 and earlier were 56K baud modems. That was fast. 56K.
That was considered fast.
There were 14.4K baud modems. There were 300 baud modems. The very first modem I ever worked on, way before the internet, where I was just dialing in to connect to a university system or to AOL, 300 baud modems, 9600 baud modems. I mean, it was, I do not exaggerate when I say you wanted to upload or download something, you started it and went to bed and woke up the next morning and it hopefully was done.
And it was all dial up back then too.
100% dial up, unless you had a lot of money to install what was called dedicated ISDN lines.
Yeah. Yep.
And
I remember
back
those.
then, radio stations used to use that all the time. If a radio station did a live remote somewhere, they would connect back to the studio via an ISDN line because that would be super fast. That would be fast enough for high quality audio to be streamed back and broadcast. But that was not cheap to install a dedicated ISDN line. And if I pulled up the Google machine right now, I could find out what was the speed, the bandwidth of an ISDN line, but it was considerably faster, but it was considerably more expensive. And if you had a lot of money, you could install what was called a T1 line, which was just like a direct tap right into the internet backbone, basically. But it was, you couldn't afford it.
But even then, it was still slow because I mean it was basically over telephone lines.
Well, these other connections were dropping in dedicated lines that were dedicated to high speed bandwidth. These no longer were telephone communications.
Right.
But the average person is never going to be able to afford that. I mean, yeah, the major home improvement company I worked for, they could spend $11,000 to buy some hard drives for storage. They could also spend the money to install ISDN lines so we could send our Sunday flyers and ads directly to our printer over an ISDN line rather than saving them to discs, having them couriered by a delivery person over to the print shop. I even remember back then this would have been, again, just before 95, we got a digital camera for the very first time in the ad network. Because before then, all artwork was hand-drawn artwork.
That's right. That's right.
You might scan it but it was a hand-drawn piece of art, line art, that got scanned in and then used to build the flyers. And we got an Apple Quick Take 100 camera. It was like, honestly, it was one of the very first, if not the first, consumer digital camera. 1 megapixel quality of that photo. 1 megapixel. So we didn't necessarily use it to take photos to use in the final copy because it just wasn't the quality. But we used it for starting to mock up and help in layout and design and stuff like that.
Right.
You know what's in your iPhone today blows away everything that was possible back in the mid 90s.
Yeah, and the power that artists have now at their fingertips on a cellular device to be able to digitally market themselves is huge.
Well, I mean, you could use your iPhone and record music. You got a little studio. I mean, GarageBand could on your freaking iPhone, and you can, as long as you get the right interfaces, use your iPhone. You can use an iPad, and you could do you could record your entire album on that, and then upload the high-end WAV files directly to your distributor. You could never do that back then.
Here's
Never.
one comment from our audience. Dean Boharney, she's one of our regular watchers from Halifax, Nova Scotia. You're talking about my former career background in the IT industry. I work with a 3480 storage computer tape cartridges for a company called Central Guarantee Trust that had branches across Canada.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they'll probably remember the old SciQuest drives, removable drives by SciQuest. They were big plastic things about a half-inch thick, where a floppy drive would hold what 1.4 megabyte.
Yeah, which is nothing now.
Which is nothing now. These SciQuest drives could hold 80 megabytes, 100 megabytes, and you were just like, and I still got some in a closet somewhere. You were just like, oh my God, this is incredible. And they were removable. So you'd have a drive that had a slot in the front, like a floppy drive, but it was big enough to insert this giant SciQuest drive in there, fill one cartridge up, take it out, put another cartridge in. It was, back then, that was all groundbreaking stuff. Yeah, even when they got to zip drives, if you remember zip drives,
yep,
which were the size of a floppy drive.
That's right.
But would hold 100 megabytes or more of data on
yep.
one of these things. Back then, when that's all you knew, that was incredible. Especially if you started with, literally the 5 1/4 inch floppies or the 8-inch floppies. You'd be sitting there going, "Oh my God, this one little cartridge holds 100 megabyte." And back then, you're right. I mean, that was a lot. You're like, I'll never fill that up. I remember my very first hard drive on my first Mac, which is, where's my Mac? There you go. So you can see the Mac.
I see it there, yeah.
Right there. Mac Plus was a 10 megabyte hard drive. And I never filled that up. Never filled up 10 megabytes. I think it cost me $300 for a 10 megabyte hard drive.
Wow. And now you've got Wave Masters, digital Wave Masters that are like 45 megabytes.
Oh, I mean, again, I've got USB sticks. We all do, scattered all over that are terabyte and a little thumbnail drive. It's just like, oh yeah, terabyte. That's fine, plenty. I mean, it just blows my mind how much stuff has progressed and storage has gotten so cheap and everything's gotten so much faster. And it does. Every year, the newer phone gets faster, the newer iPad gets faster, the newer laptop gets faster. To the point now where I don't even store, I've got local storage on my devices, but that doesn't matter to me because I'm storing everything on iCloud and Dropbox. And, I've got 2 terabytes of storage on each of those, and it's backed up. And,
Google
there's never
Drive.
there, I don't, yeah, Google Drive. I never have to worry about, the internal hard drive crashing, which, was a legit issue back then because they were all moving parts.
Yep.
The hard drive literally was spinning, and there was a drive head that would move back and forth to read it. And God forbid you dropped your laptop and the hard drive was running at the time, you might destroy the whole hard drive and try and resurrect data off of it. Now we've all got, what these SSD solid state drives, no moving parts. It's basically just a memory chip. When's the last time anybody's had a solid state drive crash on you?
It's
It's
rare.
rare. It's so rare now.
When they go though, they go.
Yeah, but the whole point, especially back in the day, was your computers, your accessories would wear out because they literally had moving parts in them.
That's
Very
right.
delicate moving parts in them.
Yep.
Dust would hurt them. And as soon as we got to devices where there's no moving parts, the only moving part, on my iPad is the keyboard. There's no other moving parts anywhere. There is much less chance of anything ever crashing, breaking. I mean, the biggest problem of breaking now is you drop it from too high of a height and it shatters your screen.
That's right.
But the rest of your devices, God, they're freaking waterproof.
So with
I
all
mean,
this,
I could take my iPhone under the water.
with all this power that we have now, this computing power that we have now, I mean, there's a huge amount of available resources at the fingertips of people to promote their music.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything's available to you through websites and apps now. There's no excuses anymore. Jesus, back in the day, you wanted to do editing of a photo, you had to buy Photoshop for $500. I mean, that was an investment. You wanted to lay out a newsletter, you bought PageMaker or Quark Express for $700, $800. I mean, that wasn't possible for the average person. Now, good. I use canva.com for everything. And, I'm editing videos and I'm building photos and I can lay out newsletters and, save it as a file and upload it to staples.com and have them print it out on their high-end printers and give me as many copies as I want.
Yeah, and you've been able to leverage the power of the internet in your podcast, for example.
Yeah. I mean, the internet is incredible for everybody, but there's no reason for musicians to not be able to market, promote, connect with fans, sell stuff. I mean, God, it takes no effort now to sell t-shirts. You don't need to understand color separations and all that stuff. You upload a high quality image to somebody's website and they print a t-shirt when somebody orders it.
That's right.
There's even services that are like, you want CDs? We'll print CDs on demand when somebody buys the CD.
Yep. Yeah. Even things like the price of pressing vinyl right now is still reasonable. It's within grasp for a lot of artists who are interested in putting out vinyl to sell at their live shows, that kind of stuff. But the digital stuff has exploded. I mean, there's so much digital available in so many different markets. And speaking of digital, your podcast is all digital.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole point of a podcast is it's like it's your own little TV station. I mean, just like what you're doing here, you're broadcasting through the internet to potentially unlimited people around the world now.
Yeah, and that's the idea, is to try and find like-minded people. You guys have done a great job with Three Sides of the Coin, by the way. I mean, I watch the podcast periodically and see you guys are on iTunes now, right?
Oh, I mean, Three Sides of the Coin is on everywhere there's podcasts: Spotify, Apple, TuneIn. I the list, escapes me. It's just like YouTube. Wherever you look for a podcast, you'll find us. I mean, and that's the beautiful thing. It's like instant free distribution to everywhere, and it's just up to you to market and promote your own podcast, and people go find it wherever they want to get podcasts from.
Right. Where are you guys most now? Your podcast is also video, isn't it?
Yeah, I do everything is video.
And do all the platforms where you put your music, or where you put your podcast, are they all video as well? Video supported?
No. So video is only on YouTube and now Spotify. I actually just started uploading today the video versions of the podcast to Spotify as well, because podcasters can upload video for their podcast straight to Spotify. So you can watch a podcast video in Spotify. A lot of them, like Apple iTunes, TuneIn, all these other ones, they're audio only. So, I mean, basically all I do is, when we create a new podcast every week, we just record a Zoom call, which Zoom records it as video. I download that video file. I do a little editing of the video, clean up the front and the back, and drop in a few things that I need in there, and then save it as a movie. And then the editing software I use also lets me export the audio track of that movie. So
And
now I've got the audio file version as well.
what YouTube channel would they be going to, Michael, to watch your podcast?
They'd go to mine, just search for Michael Brandvold in YouTube.
Okay, we're going to do it. We're going to post that on there and share that with people tonight.
And honestly, the number one channel for podcast listens is YouTube. I have more people every week listen/watch on YouTube than on Spotify, than on Apple, than anywhere else. And a lot of people only listen to the video on YouTube. They don't watch the video. They just listen to it. I mean, it's the same way people consume music on YouTube as well. A lot of people listen to the music of the video, but aren't actually watching the video.
I do the same thing. I'll pull up the podcast while I'm working other stuff in the studio and listen to the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been putting the podcasts up on YouTube way before YouTube started promoting themselves as a podcast destination. It was just like, all right, I'm just uploading the video. I mean, good God, how many people are hanging out in YouTube all the time? I want my shows to be found there, and they are.
Yep, exactly.
So anybody doing a podcast should definitely do some video version of it, whether you do like this, where it's recording two people talking, or you record just an audio file and then turn that audio file into a video by simply dropping a still graphic on top of it and uploading that movie file to YouTube. You need to have your podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, we this show is broadcast live on YouTube. It's broadcast live on Facebook, on Twitch, and Twitter X. So,
now, did you see the news about Facebook today about their live videos?
No, what are they going to do now?
So starting today, after 30 days, they will delete live videos off of Facebook.
Because
So
they're running out of space, probably.
who knows why? It's like, again, space is not an issue. I mean, it's just storage, and God knows they've got data warehouses that would
Right.
blow our minds. But you do a Facebook Live video, 30 days later, they will delete it. So if you want to keep it, you got to make sure you download your Facebook Live video, save it on your hard drive, or upload it to YouTube.
Right. They're already
But
on YouTube,
but
so if I ever want to re-download them, I
the
can.
point is they're going to go, they're disappearing. They won't stay up there forever.
Wow. That doesn't surprise me. Somebody was talking about this the other day. That it's almost as if these guys now in computer programming have this attitude of, if it ain't broke, fix it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Keep changing it. Keep changing
Yeah,
it.
keep changing it. Keep changing it. These guys that do this broadcast software that I'm using, it's a web browser based um, program, which is kind of cool because this stuff didn't even exist a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Live streaming like this 10 years ago was just starting to happen. I mean, Facebook wasn't doing it yet. Twitter wasn't doing it yet. There were a few third-party apps that were starting to play around with letting you do live streams. And, before this, now it's just connect a camera, connect a microphone, punch a button, and it basically does everything for you. It used to take a lot of configuration 10, 15 years ago to stream a video on the internet. Even if you had all the equipment, it was the world of TV stations that only had the ability to do live streaming.
Right. If you were to give an artist some advice about their best, if they only had time to do one thing and one thing only, what would your advice be to someone in terms of promoting themselves? Where would their best place be to promote themselves?
There isn't necessarily one place that would work for everybody. I mean, I literally was talking to a potential client earlier this afternoon, and his best place would probably be LinkedIn, not Facebook. You got to know where your audience is. Where's your audience hanging out? Where do they hang out? Well, it's kind of based on how old they are. If you're a classic rock artist, your fans are probably hanging out on Facebook and YouTube. If you are appealing to a younger demographic, it's going to be TikTok much more than it will be Facebook. Which sort of leads to, you got to be everywhere, wherever the party is.
Right. Yeah, and if you're hoping to attract different demographics, you've got to think about what demographics use those services too, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's not about attracting new demographics because, again, if you're a classic rock artist, just bite the bullet and understand you're not going to get 12-year-old fans. The way a 12-year-old fan discovers a classic rock artist is because their parent listens to the classic rock artist, not because they themselves discovered a classic rock artist on TikTok, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So,
Corinne's got a question for you, Mike. She says, isn't Facebook's popularity dropping off?
I would say not necessarily. Again, that's where the older generation's hanging out. They're much harder to move. Is there a lot more competition? Yes. I mean, I tell clients again, you got to be everywhere. You got to be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky now, Threads, all of these places. You need, even Spotify is becoming much more of a social networking destination. I mentioned you can upload video podcasts to Spotify. If your account as an artist has been approved for it, You can upload vertical TikTok style videos to your profile on Spotify for people to watch there. You've got to be paying attention to everything that's going on and be ready to move with the party. Is Facebook going to go away? I think it's too big at this point to go away. You never really like, well, what about MySpace? What about Friendster? Well, that was a different era, a different time. I mean, what Facebook is like 1.5 billion people use Facebook. That's a lot of freaking people.
It is a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. 1 billion that's more people than live in the entire United States.
And
So
most artists only need, and again, you said if your audience lives on Facebook, you only need a small fraction of that number of loyal followers to help support you in your efforts as an artist.
yeah, I mean, you obviously you want as many fans and followers as possible. You want to keep growing, but you want them to be real.
That's right.
That leads to the just flat out never, ever, don't even think about ever doing it. Don't ever buy followers. That applies to don't buy Facebook followers, don't buy YouTube subscribers, don't buy video views. Don't go to any of these websites that are like, send me $50, PayPal me, and I'll give you 5,000 followers by tomorrow morning. Don't ever do that. That will hurt you. That will make it more difficult. Those are fake. They're bots. They're not real. You need real people.
Does that apply to a lot of those sponsored ads that are popping up on Facebook feeds, and it tends to pop up in the algorithms for musicians more than anybody else? Buy my book to success for marketing strategies for your digital works.
Those are just ads. Somebody's put an ad on Facebook that says, show this ad to people who are musicians or people who like the CD Baby page or like the TuneCore page. Show them this ad because they're
Right.
most likely a musician looking for help.
Right. What do you think about some of those? Are some of those like legit, or are most of them snake oil salesmen going, I got a great product here, but you're going to pay me money and you're not going to earn as much money back?
They're I don't want to say they're all snake oil because there's a lot of very good people out there that are doing that. But what I would say is, if anybody says, we guarantee you, we promise you, you will be successful, you will make more money, walk away from that. That's just nothing more than a late night infomercial. We guarantee you're going to lose 10 pounds by drinking our solution. You can't guarantee anything. You can't guarantee me more fans. You can't guarantee me more album sales. There is no magic bullet, one fire, trick pony thing you can do. Because if there was, you don't think every single musician would actually be doing it and succeeding at the same time?
Right.
No. That's what it comes down to. If all I had to do was spend $99.99 to buy this course or you subscribe to this website to get guaranteed more people, everybody would be doing it if it actually worked. And that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's tempting when those things pop up because they, like, oh, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. I mean,
you got to work. You got to put the work in. At the end of the day, you still got to work for success. Success isn't going to come because you spent $100 on this one program or this one app or took this course. You got to work.
Yeah, hence my my thing on my profile now. It says the road to success is never easy.
It's not. Anybody who had overnight success took 10 years to get to their overnight success. 10 years is probably, being generous. It probably took them even longer. You probably spent 20 years slugging it out, ready to give up, and then you had overnight success. Is that overnight success? No. That was 20 years of hard work finally paid off.
Yeah, and the world has changed tremendously in terms of what's out there. I mean, everything is all of a sudden available. Like everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, all the tools you need to work are available now. You know, the internet leveled the playing field when it came to the music industry. People might think it sucks now compared to the good old days, but the good old days, the average musician couldn't be part of it because who back in the 70s, 80s, 90s could afford to rent a recording studio to record an album? Because that was the only way you could do it. You couldn't do it in your basement.
Nope.
And then you recorded it. Well, how do you release it? Well, there was no digital. You had to release physical product. Yeah, maybe if you had a boatload of money, you could print your own CDs and vinyl, but how do you distribute it? I guess you could drive around to all the local record stores in your town and sell it to them on consignment, which is a common thing everybody did, but that wasn't making you money unless it was sold. So you want to release it, you had to have a record deal. And
Exactly.
those record labels were gatekeepers. They only picked and chose a small number of artists to release. And if you didn't make the cut, what can you do?
Yeah, and I mean, digital interfaces and digital audio workstations now are so readily available for people to produce music. They can produce stuff as good as what you could in any recording studio.
100%. You know, you can get a nice Mac Mini for under $1,000 and install high-end audio software on it, and you've got a full recording studio. As long as you got the right interfaces to connect, your instruments and your mics to your computer, you're good to go. And then when you want to release it, look, anybody can release music digitally nowadays. You can go through you guys, you can go through CD Baby, you can go through DistroKid. There's countless of them out there that will get you to every single digital platform on the planet if you want.
My camera
And
keeps
yes,
out.
I noticed that it keeps
It's
flickering. Now it's black.
Now that's going on to another camera, so I'm going to just flip back over and see if I can just. I'm sorry about that distraction. I'm not sure why that's doing it, but it's deciding that it's going to cack out on me here. So I'm gonna. We'll just be. I'll be that guy right now. Okay.
Okay.
Until I can figure this thing out. But yeah, I mean, there's been so many things that have changed in the last few years that have made things so more readily available for people to be able to change what they do and how they go about doing it, which I think is really kind of a cool thing.
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, does it mean that everybody who records music can release it and it means a lot more crap is potentially being released? Of course it does. But I personally could care less. Does that mean it's harder for you to get heard and discovered? No, because it's not the job of the Spotifys of the world. And when I say Spotify, I'm just saying them by name, but all digital streaming services. Their job isn't to market and promote you. They're nothing more than walking into a Tower Records where you see aisle after aisle after aisle of CD and vinyl. Your job is to promote your music. And the destination, the retailer you drive them to, is a streaming service or iTunes or Amazon. It's that's the work. The work. A lot of artists think the work is just writing and recording. And I'm not taking away that isn't a lot of work. But the work doesn't end when the album is done. Now you got a crap load of more work. You have to, it's your job to market and promote and make your music discoverable and found. Nobody else is going to do that for you. It's not the job of any of these websites to do that for you. That's your job. You don't join YouTube, sit back and go, okay, YouTube's going to make sure everybody sees my video. Yeah, their algorithms will do certain things to help you be discoverable, but they are not doing it out of the goodness of their heart
Not
to
at all.
help you find fans. They're doing it to keep that user on their website, on their service as long as possible, to keep consuming their content. So they could care less whether they're consuming an unknown band or you too. It doesn't matter. Just stay on YouTube. Don't leave us. We'll keep suggesting the next thing to play and the next thing to play. So, you know, that's the work. And again, it's a level playing field. Back in the day, the only way you could market and promote your music is if you had a big ass budget from a major record label that was going to spend money to buy print ads and radio ads and all this other stuff. Which, don't forget, you had to pay all that money back that they spent on you.
Yeah, it's just a loan.
Just a loan. Now you can do that on your own. It's sure it still requires money. It doesn't require as much money. Just like recording your album today doesn't take the same amount of money it took to record an album in 1985.
Right. And so that leads to another question. Mike Whittington has a question here. He says, how about AI coming into the music scene with it being able to write songs and music? What do you think of that?
It's getting there. It's not there yet. You know, AI is like, I mean, it's artificial intelligence. It's like a person. It's got to learn over time, over years. It's going to get better and better and better. You know, you could ask it to write you a song right now, and it'll spit something out, and you'll probably go, it's about 80% there. I still got to work on it. It's not done all on its own. Music's the same way. And there will be changes in what you can and cannot do and use AI for. Granted, you can use AI right now through certain programs and apps to copy and mimic somebody's voice and give it a set of lyrics to sing, and you could save that as an MP3 file. That there's going to be restrictions on how you can do that. Who owns the copyright of that? I mean, you know, as cool as it is to see AI create a video for you or a photo right now, we all can instantly look at an AI generated video or photo and go, please, that's AI. There's 6 fingers on this hand, and the right arm is bent backwards, and
Right.
you know, the guitar has got 8 strings on it, only 6 tuning knobs. You know, you look at it and go, it's pretty phenomenal that it could even do that, but it ain't there yet.
No, and the cool thing about some of the AI stuff is that it can be used to convey messages that are in the music itself. And I've seen artists use AI for making videos that are more, you know, they're not like lifelike, but they're close enough to lifelike where they can actually be used to convey. So you can actually use an AI program to create your video instead of trying to find stock footage or film your own footage and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you know, I would also say to people, be careful how much AI you're putting into videos and photos. These social networks are tracking that, and they know when it's AI. I mean, geez, you upload a video to YouTube today, there's a checkbox. Is there AI content in this video or not? Yes
That's
or
right.
no? Even if you say no, they can still tell.
Yep.
you know, and they're going to start penalizing, or not necessarily penalizing, but they won't give you as much algorithm exposure as 100% real content.
Right.
So, you upload an AI video, it may get seen by only a fraction of the people who would have seen it if it was a real video.
Yeah, there
And
seems to
and,
be a
and I'm all for that. I mean, that's sort of the way it should be. But let's also keep in mind that right now AI is getting all of its attention is being given to creating photos and creating music and creating videos. Frankly, AI can do a lot more beyond that stuff. And if I was an artist right now, I wouldn't be doing that because the quality that comes out just isn't there. I mean, it's kind of hokey looking stuff. I mean, you can use AI to help you write your artist bio. Everybody's got to
right.
have an artist bio. You got to have an about page.
Yep.
You put in a few things, ask it what it knows about you. Say, oh, I want this to be more of a heavy metal tone in the writing. It'll start tweaking it to the point where is what it going to spit out to you 100% perfect? No, but you'll take what it spit out and then finish the editing on your own. There's stuff like that AI can do to help save you time. Do you have do you have an image that's a scan of a whole bunch of lyrics or words? Rather than retyping it by hand, you could upload that image into AI and say, um, give me the copy that's in this photo. Okay, spits out the copy that's in this photo.
Right.
That's, to me, that's great use because what's it doing? It's saving me time of what I used to do manually. I used to have to say, oh, okay, let me retype. I'm typing. Now AI can just ingest it and spit it out and save you a lot of time. It's not, again, I'm not comfortable using it to create images yet because I just look at an AI generated image and I go, that's AI generated, lazy.
Right. My understanding ID of AI is as I studied science and technology for all those years is that it was really about trying to take away those mundane tasks from us so
Yep.
that as human beings we could be more creative. We could turn on those creative juices and create things.
Yeah. I mean, instead of you sweating for 4 or 5 hours trying to write a 1-page bio about yourself because you're not a copywriter,
Right.
you can, first you can start with, hey, Chat GPT, tell me what you know about band blah, blah, blah. And that's just going to spit out what it knows based off of what it's ingested out on the internet. And
Exactly.
then you can take that and go, okay, can you take that 5 paragraphs and summarize it in 2 paragraphs? Okay, there's 2 paragraphs.
Right.
Great. Now, can you change the tone of this to make it sound more aggressive or more chill? Okay, it rewrites that and gives you some mundane tasks like that.
Now you've got something that you can expand on yourself and put your own touch on that as well.
Yes, well, that's the whole point. You take what it spits out and then you add your final touch to it. Oh, that phrasing is a little wonky. Let me pull that word out. Let me change that word. But what it did is it got you over the hump and it helped you get to the point where you can finalize it. I mean, at this point in time of AI, I would never take anything AI creates in any sense as 100% finished and just run with it.
Right.
Will we get to that point? Sure. I bet we look back 10 years from now and we'll go, oh my God, AI is boom. AI is 100% fine tuned and effective and knows what it's doing and works beautifully. But that's because it's got to learn. I
Right.
mean, remember when ChatGPT first showed up, it had only learned like the last 3 or 4 years of what had been out on the internet. And the longer it lives, the more it learns, the more it ingests, the smarter it gets. The skills it's going to have in writing and everything else, it's going to only get better. Just like the internet and everything changed from 1995 to where we are today.
Sure.
Wait until you see what AI is going to be like 10, 15 years from now. Probably not even that long. 5 years from now, we're going to be blown away. You're going to look back at 5 years from now, you're going to look back at the beginnings of AI and go, oh my God, was that rude and rough back then?
Yeah, it's going to grow like the internet grew, and like, digital grew in terms of, all the things that we're able to do today that we couldn't do 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a learning process. I mean, I know somebody who uses AI to take like a PowerPoint presentation and say, could you summarize this 10-page PowerPoint presentation into a paragraph? Or can you take this legal document in just a full legal document, and can you explain this, literally saying, can you explain this to me in non-legal terms in 3 paragraphs, what this is about?
Right.
Now, would what it spits out, would I take that as legal advice? Of course not. But it brings you up to a level now, so if you now engage with a lawyer, you at least know what's going on as the lawyer starts talking to you about it.
Right. Better understanding, better insights.
Better understanding, yeah.
You are what's your most current project right now? I know you're doing work with WASP and a few others.
Working with WASP, Foghat, Biohazard, the record label Brave Words Records, doing a lot of stuff there. And the work all varies amongst each of them. What do they need? Are they touring? Are they not touring? Are they releasing an album? What is their current project effort?
Right. And so closing remarks, we're out at the end of the show tonight. What do you think that people should be focused on going forward, at least artists, in terms of digital marketing?
Always growing your fan base, always growing your followers, meaning always try and get more subscribers to YouTube, more followers on Bands in Town, more people on your email list. Always focus on where you can directly connect with your fans without playing with an algorithm like on Facebook. 10,000 Facebook followers, you make a post, maybe 100 of them will ever see it, because Facebook, and this is Facebook, Instagram, they've all got it. They all restrict how many people see it, so they can sell you advertising to get more people to see it.
Right.
Places like Bands in Town. If a follower is on Bands in Town and you make a post to all of your followers will get notified. Not saying they'll all read it, but they'll all get notified there's a new post. You have subscribers on YouTube. You make a new video, you make a post to the Facebook community section. They'll all get notified. Again, they may not do anything, but there's no algorithm that says, oh, you've got 10,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, but we're only going to let 250 of them know you posted a new video. That doesn't happen there. You've got followers of your Spotify channel. Well, when you release a new track, a new album, those followers will be notified in their new release playlist that you've got music.
That's right.
Again, they may not play it. There's not going to be a banner that pops up, but Spotify is not sitting here going, oh, okay, so you got 100,000 followers. Well, I'm only going to tell 1,000 of your followers you've got new music. You want to try and avoid the algorithms of the world that limit your exposure, because you're never going to win in those games.
Right. As we close tonight, Michael, and a segue for our next time together, is Spotify the big bad wolf?
No.
All right.
Nope.
There you heard it from a digital marketing specialist, a professional in his own right. And I'm telling you, if you take a look at this guy, Mike Brandvold, he's worked with some of the best in the industry. And so you need to check him out. Check out his 3 Sides of the Coin at Michael Brandvold on YouTube. We posted the link tonight, so check that out as well. This has been the Indie Show. That guy there is Michael Brandvold. I'm Kenny. You're